Dear Mr. President Vladimir Vladimirovich, this year we're having the Jubilee 10th conference, AI Journey. It is with all my heart that I'm thanking you for this regular participation in our conference, for the support of the high-tech sector in our economy. And let me give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Today's date is called Artificial Intelligence Journey. And Mr. Graf has just given me such a journey. It was a 3-hour-long journey, 2.5-hour journey. So we apologize to you for having had to wait here, that you had to exchange opinions for now for the topic. But in any case, I'm very happy to welcome all participants of the conference called Artificial Intelligence Journey, that is organized here at the Sber HQ, as well as I would like to welcome many millions of citizens of different countries, our great online audience. As per tradition, I'll share with you what Russia is doing. I'll tell you about our new steps in the creation and application of cutting-edge technologies, also as part of international cooperation. However, since the conference is the 10th conference, it's an anniversary, I would like to thank the Sber chairman of the board, Herman Graf, as well as the Russian Artificial Intelligence Alliance. Thank you for your resilience in the promotion of the values of progress. Thank you for your efforts to bring together the capacity of the state, businesses, and science, rallying around the tasks of technological development. And technological development, as I have said many times, requires to take an evaluation of what we are doing. We also need to move forward, constantly move forward. Having achieved a certain result, not to stop at that, but to bring our joint work to a qualitatively new level, in order not to fall behind the speed and a tremendous scale of changes. During the previous conferences, we have spoken in depth about the generative AI, about language models trained at vast data sets, including texts and images. Even 2 years ago, such systems could only perform rather simple tasks, and today, using generative artificial intelligence, they're already creating intellectual assistants, the so-called AI agents, as well as unmanned transportation and robots. It's important that they are acting not according to strict and predetermined algorithms, but they're becoming increasingly autonomous in making decisions without intervention of a human. And those who already have such products and apply them receives a tremendous advantage in the efficiency and labor efficiency. It is apparent that generative AI technology is becoming essential and strategic. Possession of proprietary foundation language models is sought after not only by major companies but also by leading states. The development of artificial intelligence is evaluated to be possibly one of the largest technological projects in history. At the same time, the mainstream investment is flowing towards the increased computation capacity, as well as building additional gigawatts of capacity that has the decisive role for the reliable work of the whole growing digital infrastructure. To train the next, even more efficient generative AI systems. I have already mentioned before that during this decade, the consumption of electricity by data centers will more than triple. Along with drastic changes in all spheres, there is an increased number of users of the products based on generative AI. In Russia, an overwhelming majority of young people are widely using neural networks and language models for all types of tasks, in studies, in their professional and daily lives. There is another important thing, is that such models produce gigantic mass of new data, and they become an important tool of dissemination of information. And that means that they're capable of influencing values and worldview of people, and to shape mentality of whole states and humanity on the whole. We simply cannot allow to be critically dependent on foreign systems. And for Russia, it's a matter of state, technological, and I would say value sovereignty. Therefore, our country should have a comprehensive array of our own technologies and products in generative AI. Primarily, these are national language models, both foundation and small models, for specific sectors. The whole spectrum of such models should be trained and fully controlled by Russian specialists. And I'd like to highlight at all stages, including the testing of the end product. Working on such complex systems should become an important catalyst for strengthening the Russian engineering school in this very important sphere. We should have unique competences across the whole cycle of foundation language models, starting with their training and creation, and ending with adaptation for the needs of specific industries. That is the path pursued by the countries who are trying to ensure their leadership and independence, their sovereignty in this sphere. Number two, it's a basic dimension. That's the whole infrastructure for the development and introduction of such national products, meaning electronic components, data processing centers, and computation capacity, coupled with stable power supply. The tasks that I'm talking about right now are difficult and demanding. We are fully aware of that, and will solve them in partnership with domestic companies. I'd like to note here that products by Sber and Yandex are ranking among top in the world. And during the upcoming presidential hotline, slated for the end of the year, we'll again use GigaChat. This is a language model by Sber, and it has already proven its efficiency during the analysis and systematization of tremendous mass of calls by the citizens. It bears repeating that it's important not only to simply have the homegrown technologies, it's important to ensure their wide practical application and to ensure mass introduction in industry, in transportation, healthcare, public governance, and other sectors. And I would like to go into more detail on this topic. National strategy for AI development states as a goal is that the total input of this most important technology in the GDP of the country by 2030 should exceed 11 trillion rubles. To follow up on this goal, I'd like to ask the government and heads of regions to draft a national plan of introducing generative AI at the level of the whole country, as well as in the breakdown for sectors and regions of the Russian Federation. Today, with the chairman of the government, in the morning, we've discussed this topic and we have spoken about it. He reminded me that the government has already created a think tank, an analytical center that works in this regard. 50 people are working in that team. Formally, this team is working under the Ministry for Digital Development. However, it's not enough. It's not enough today. We need a real headquarters for the development of this sector if we want this work to be consistent and robust in all spheres that I've just mentioned. I mean, sectoral industries and regions in the ministries and agencies. We need an interagency headquarters that could indeed set the tasks to achieve implementation and control the result. Such an analytical group is good. However, these people do not have the necessary governance resources That's what's missing. So we need this power behind them. Therefore, I'm asking the presidential office and the government and the ministries and the government as a whole to think about the creation of this headquarters, leading this entire sector, engaging all stakeholders, or possibly they're not even aware that they're stakeholders in these processes, and we should explain it to them all together. I'd like to highlight that this implementation of this plan will become a crucial instrument to shape the demand for national foundation models, essentially a whole market of application of generative AI systems. Products using this technology already by 2030 should be introduced in all key spheres. I'm also talking about such solutions and intellectual assistance, AI agents. They should be used in the majority of governance and production processes. Already in March next year, the government, ministries and agencies should present exhaustive information about the use of AI in economics, in the social sphere and in the regions. The rate of introduction of these technologies in the region should become a crucial metric for annual ranking of digital transformation. I'd like to ask to draft this new ranking using the new methodology already following the results of the next year, 2026.
And in this respect, I turn to heads of ministries and agencies and regions. It's not a matter of reports, but it's about deliverables. You must be clear about the corporate's demand for innovation, be in constant touch with scientists and engineers, enable testing and practical implementation of novel solutions. Such achievements are displayed in the exhibition area of our conference. I believe they are quite useful. If you haven't seen these, please familiarize yourselves, and also it is important to be able to shape a market to apply the advances of AI. And now we have been talking about that with colleagues, and they told me a lot about how this sphere has been developing. As in any other domain, fortunately or unfortunately, well, I think fortunately, we are capable of shaping the market. We need to introduce certain standards in different types of activity, and those who will be the users of the AI advances should pay for them, and that should create the market base for further development. We need to nudge this process, give it an impetus. I'll also add that we already have salient examples of the expertise of one region in AI application becoming a springboard for the changes across the country. Around 2,000 medical establishments in more than 70 regions have joined the Moscow Digital Healthcare Platform, and this system has provided doctors from different cities and locations with access to AI algorithms to pursue automatic medical images and radiology studies analysis. We should be more swift in reducing administrative barriers that would hinder the implementation of technology. In a number of countries, the attempts at prescribing AI in great detail slowed down the development of new products and ideas. I reiterate, we should not take this path, and we should learn on others' mistakes. At the same time, some of the domains of activity, in particular, and partly the special services and public administration domains, and as well as power authorities, work where we should remain on our own proprietary domestic solutions. And definitely all that should be done in pursuit of direct dialogue with technology businesses, having meaningful and substantive discussions about the boldest and outside the box, out of the normal approaches, regulatory and legal initiatives. If need be, we should test run them within experimental legal frameworks. Such are applied in Moscow and in Sakhalin and in a number of other regions. And soon they will encompass a third of Russia's soil. The entire Far East will be covered, and definitely we should promote more actively the soft law. I'm referring to the AI ethics code, most importantly. Apart from that, as I have noted today, in order to step up domestic generative AI capability and train our language models, we need to guarantee the stability and autonomy of the national digital infrastructure, which I have already spoken about. This will allow us to safeguard data sovereignty so that the user's data should stay within the Russia's digital loop. In this respect, I suggest engaging with business communities to implement a data center blueprint to cater to the AI objectives, providing convenient access to data centers for startups, scientific organizations, and technology companies. Creation of data centers is aimed at driving the appearance of new firms and new jobs in promising sectors of our economy. It's about, most importantly, an inter alia electronic components industry and domestic manufacturing of basic components of software and hardware systems for data centers. Another overarching goal is to ensure stable, uninterrupted, and sufficient power supply to data centers. So installation of their layouts should be clearly tied with further development of all our national energy infrastructure, including the state-of-the-art, contemporary, cutting-edge, eco-friendly and sustainable coal-fired generation, including other clean sources as well, like the nuclear power sector. Right now we have had a conversation with the professionals, and they say that the energy sources alone are insufficient. We need constant, uninterrupted, powerful sources of information so that they can be used swiftly to process data, and they should be next to the consumers and the users of the services. And this is a very important goal, a daunting task, but we can resolve that because we are the only country in the world, I think, that is now capable and ready and already producing small-scale nuclear power plants. Like in Kuzbas region, you can use coal-fired generation, and in regions where we have hydropower plants, we also can do with their help. But somewhere we have major nuclear power plants, and these are handy and sufficient. But in order the data to be transferred in split seconds to the users, we need to install the small-scale nuclear power plants, but that should be done expeditiously. We have unique solutions that can be utilized for power supply of data centers. We plan to move to pursue the commercial manufacturing of small-scale floating and land-based NPPs. Also, will utilize major power plants to feed the data centers, and we're ready to offer our partners overseas such packages, comprehensive packages. With respect to our plans for future, in less than 2 decades, we plan to build 38 nuclear power units in the Urals, Siberia, and the Far East, and that will equal the current capacity of nuclear generation. The growing capability of domestic nuclear power will allow us to consistently expand the computing capacity for the AI. Dear friends, I will separately dwell on the international cooperation of ours. We will be building a joint framework in AI with our partners, working basing on the bilateral agreements and in integration groups such as the Eurasian Economic Union, BRICS, and SCO, and other formats. And we propose to approach the alignment of our national legislations to deploy AI solutions using the best practices of BRICS community. And definitely we intend to implement joint research projects, and in this respect we also have visible cooperation instances to cite, like the International Alliance for the AI established last year has launched in-depth scientific discussions about how the AI solutions will evolve in the forthcoming decade and what kind of impact will they be for manufacturing, transport and other industries, and definitely the human beings and the family and the society and social process. I would ask the government to utilize the findings of that forecast in practical domain to update and fine-tune our plans to develop our economy and welfare. And it's obvious that the digital progress will be gaining momentum, and in foreseeable future we are sure to see solutions that will surpass the current system's capabilities, and this will happen quite quickly. And I'm referring to generative AI inter alia. And most importantly, I'm certain that Russian young scientists and engineers will become active contributors, helping to resolve these complex tasks and problems. I know that today Russian school children are attending, as well as students, winners of international AI competitions and events. Let's recognize and celebrate them all together. Dear friends, I wish you new achievements and all the best, and I wish all the AI Journey Conference participants fruitful work. Thank you very much.
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, let me reiterate my words of gratitude for your attention to the issues of technology. I do apologize for spending that much time today to dive deep into this most important and probably most complicated of technologies. I don't think that many national leaders are that aware of technology issues as you are, and thank you very much for the very important notes and tasking that you gave. I would now like to announce that we decided to make an open source resource, our flagship most advanced models like GigaChat Ultra Preview, GigaChat Lightning, the new speech recognition models, V3, image and video generation, Kandinsky, Kandinsky 5.0, something that we introduced as recently as today at this conference. These models will be distributed under license that will allow even commercial use, and this will become the largest open-sourced project in Europe. All these models will be made totally available open-sourced on an open-source basis. Also today we introduced a humanoid robot, the first humanoid robot based on GigaChat. It can get its bearings in an unknown space, it can work autonomously in this space, and this is certainly a new task in the development of the native national robotics and AI, embodied or physical AI. As they say, everything that's new is one way or another based around AI. So this new stage in the development of robotics should have Russia very well represented. We should carve out a space for ourselves in this market, and it's very important for our partner companies, partners in the AI Alliance, including Yandex. It's very important that they are developing this track. What are these models? What do they all mean for us, for corporate leaders, for citizens? Just for the people who encounter AI on a daily basis to resolve their routine problems. What do we prepare our children for in an environment where pretty much everyone has access to unlimited number of AI models? All of these issues require considerable reflection upon and transformation. We must be quick enough with these transformations. So we call this panel The Future with AI. It's obvious that we're going to have to live with the robots, with AI. It's obvious that we're going to have to live with robots living among us. So all of that we must reflect upon. We must design this future so we don't sustain stress, so we don't mete out stressed, unprepared citizens and organizations because they can't fence themselves off these things, these phenomena. And I would like to actually go into this plenary session. We've got three speakers. Our first speaker is Evgeny Burnaev. He is a PhD in physics and mathematics, a professor. He's the director of the Center for AI at Skoltech. I have to say that Skoltech is probably our closest partner, probably the most powerful base in Russia to develop AI. He is the head of the Trainable Intelligence Group at the AI Research Institute. He won the Russian government National Award for Science and Technology last year. And the first topic to cover is the changes in the industry and in the sectors of the economy driven by AI. I would like to put the question to you, knowing that you're very much focused on practical developments in AI. You know, in engineering, AI has benefited many companies practically. So what is your opinion as a scientist? What scientific developments will affect the most significant impact on the industry and economy as a whole? And what is your estimation of the next 3 to 5 years in terms of the appearance of the so-called hybrid labor, where AI is working alongside humans? AI not limiting the capabilities of humans, but on the contrary, augmenting them. What about areas where AI will be working totally autonomously? In your opinion, what opportunities do you see already today, and what is the outlook for the next couple of years? Thank you very much for the question, Mr. Grev, Mr. Putin. You know, the key trend used to be automation in the industry. So a machine was given a certain number of fixed steps to do certain things. You know, an example, in a steel mill, an image is used to analyze the defects in a prefab. But then a whole number of industrial processes are so complicated that you simply cannot automate to resolve these issues. For instance, you design a manufacturing site. The master constructor is setting certain parameters. Then certain engineering teams start working with the regulations, with the design requirements, etc., etc. It's a multi-step process, very complicated. The problem is that if the high-level characteristics, the global characteristics, the global requirements of the site change for one reason or other, recalculating the whole thing as a cross-cutting process is pretty much impossible. So on the one hand, you can automate the work of individual engineers, but recalculating the whole string of steps is nigh to impossible using conventional tools. And it's a similar story in process management in manufacturing industries. But then we have multi-agent systems and generative AI. They allow to transition from automation to autonomization. We've got all kinds of generative models that can process not just images and texts, but they can process technical drawings. You know, pretty recently we had a joint project with Sber to do a project with Roscosmos, and a generative model helps very much to improve the imagery from space. You can use a Gen AI to build an agent. It can write code, it can have memory, it can decompose various objectives into certain sub-objectives. It can manage other agents that resolve these sub-objectives, and then it's a fully fledged solution. So it's a multi-agent system that manages the whole process. And this will allow to transition in the future to largely autonomous organizations, not just factories. It may be autonomous offices, it may be autonomous service companies, etc. So in a sense, it will be an organism of interacting AI agents to manage tech processes, complicated tech processes, manufacturing, logistics, supply chains, finances, energy. It may be applied in public services, in city management, etc. And for Russia, this is a boon. Why? Because we've got a lot of jobs to do, and we are short on people. And I have to say that new professions will emerge. Engineers used to use software to design things, and now they will have to master the skills of using AI to do things with AI. To implement this in the businesses, we need to ensure information security, cybersecurity. We have the tools for this, and we understand how we need to develop this to ensure both the confidence levels and the security, cybersecurity. Now, to make all of this work, we need to do a platform based on AI, AI at the core. And Sber has a great foundation for this. We need to build an ecosystem for the various applications. Let me give you a historical parallel. In the 2000s, there was this, on a historical scale, local crisis, the dot-com crisis. But then the investments that were made back then, they were fully recouped, and the internet is very much a part of our life. So the technologies that I'm talking about today, for the industry, for all kinds of other applications, the recoupment will come not just in the midterm, but this is a genuinely an investment for the long term. Thank you.
Do I get you correctly that we can resolve the labor shortage problem? Yes, mostly. And the high-skilled personnel and labor resources, they also have to upskill. In the past we had the machine tools, and now we have chip-based machine tools. So that required upskilling and skill improvement. And this is the pathway to pursue. Thank you very much. And you have made mention of this satellite-based data, and I would like to thank our partner attending, Dmitry Bakanov. Recently we started cooperating with Roscosmos Space Agency quite actively. On the ground also, and thank you for providing a lot of information that we can use to train our models. In the outer space, we already have launched first models of ours accompanying astronauts, and now we are designing the cosmonauts assistant. And there's a great deal of complex equipment on board, and AI is required to assist. So is Sber ready to participate in the creation of satellite constellations that the state needs so badly? Well, Mr. President, we will do that gladly in different sectors and with different aims. In terms of AI, we will do our best, and we'll be pleased to do that. We believe it's our mission. So it was quite a tricky response. Will you provide funding for the constellations, or will you just share your AI know-how and capability? Mr. President, we don't have anything left after we invest in AI. It's a very expensive toy. Why don't you use the AI to reduce the non-core spending and costs and cut those costs, and you will have extra money. You are quite correct, Mr. President. We're moving in this direction, and we wanted to present a project to you. Sberbank this year, with the help of a multi-agent system, will make redundant 20% of personnel that we, with the help of the AI, have rendered inefficient, and we have been closing those projects and making some of the people redundant. There are no inefficient workers that you can lay off. There are some of the workers that you probably haven't been doing properly with and treating properly. You know, I am in agreement with that. At the end of the day, inefficient workers are the lot of the inefficient managers. So probably there is also my share of responsibility in that. Well, actually, when Mr. Gref has helped me deep dive into the AI topic with the help of his colleagues, we have touched upon a very important subject, that of education. Once you press a button, you can resolve any problem, any task, solve any task or problem. Well, why then develop one's cognition and thinking? It may sound as a joke, but actually this is quite serious, because kids at school and at college should be trained to think properly and should be taught to think, not just press the button. And this is a daunting task. It's not so simple. One of our colleagues participated, a young man participated in a presentation. He has 5 children. Let's greet him. Let's recognize him now. He has been working for Yandex, as Mr. Gref has prompted me, and he is also active in other domains, on the personal front and the family front. 5 kids. The youngest is 9 months old only, and I've asked him, how are you going to teach your kids to think, not just press the button? You know, jokes aside, he is a very clever man, and he spoke about things that I could not perceive fully or conceive fully, and actually he could not provide an answer to my question. And this is no joke. In this new nascent system, global system, it's going to be quite a challenge, and we cannot allow in this country to have a closely knit community of elite, super intellectuals, the elite, the intellectual elite, and all the other people would play the role of robots pressing the button. And this is not as simple, and this is quite a challenge for the education system of ours and the higher education ministry and school education ministry. We should prompt them and to think. The educational system of ours should come up with an approach of teaching to make kids solve problems, and at the same time be capable of using the AI capability. And also they should be knowledgeable of how to play chess, and they should be good at mathematics. So I would ask everybody to think it over, because not a single model can resolve that, and not a single official or leader can resolve that. This is a very, very serious for our future generations. I apologize for this intervention.
Mr. Burden, thank you very much. These are major challenges. Obviously, they cannot be addressed from the get-go. I mean, the entire community, the entire society have to make an effort, and this is something that we have to prioritize. Our next speaker, Ajit Abraham from India, is a Vice Rector, Dean of the Faculty of the Artificial Intelligence at Sai University. He is the author and co-author of more than 1,500 research publications in the field of AI. According to Scholar GPS data for 2024, He is in the top 0.01% of the world's most cited scientists in the fields of engineering and computer science. His H index is 123. A question to you, Mr. Abraham, related to science and education. Because obviously, in the era of AI, science and education goes to a totally new field. These are the fields that are so important, without which you cannot develop the entire country, and obviously you cannot develop any technologies without science and education. What is the future of science, if I may ask? We reported to the President that this year AI, for the first time, authored an article that was published in an A* journal, and up until 2030, according to all expectations, AI will write more than 1 million scientific articles. Without AI, this number would be 43,000. It is obvious that researchers cannot even read all these articles. How do you think the research work will be organized? What will scientists do? How will they work? And if you have any ideas, how should we transform education? Because you are working in the higher education system, so how do you transform the higher education system to make sure it is adapted to the era of the generative AI? Please.
Thank you. Thank you. First, I will take a few moments to summarize our AI Foresight event. During the last AI journey, as per the advice of President Putin, we organized the Foresight session to understand some of the current challenging problems, future opportunities, and finding ways how we can work together to some of the cutting-edge challenging problems, contributing to the community, to the country, and doing something great to the planet. So we had close to 270 researchers from industry and academia from nearly 36 countries participating in this massive exercise during the last 1 year. Personal interviews, sessions in different countries, online, offline, all these helped us to bring all this knowledge together. And I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of all the members and the participating nations to thank Russia for chairing this session and providing this opportunity for all of us to work together. We have seen a massive transformation, how AI is changing the world, from machine learning to transformers to large language models, to multimodal models, to agentic systems, to context-aware systems. We have our colleagues working in various new areas like responsible AI, explainable AI, ethical AI, digital twins with cognitive capabilities, human and AI working together, systems, something like that. So all these things are changing in a very big way in the technological field. And AI is going to change the way we live, the way we operate, the way we do business, the way we teach our students, the way we do many things in daily life. I would like to quickly point how scientific literature, or I would say advancing scientific progress, is going to be affected using artificial intelligence. From understanding literature, I would say if we want to do something new, it would have taken months to years to summarize a new area. But with generative AI, we can summarize this in few days to few weeks, starting a new area, formulating hypotheses, doing experiments, analyzing data, augmenting data. Sometimes we don't have the data, but we can augment using various generative AI tools. All these will definitely speed up scientific discovery, and even we can improve the results within few days to few weeks, which would have taken sometimes months to years. 5, 10 years ago. So I think AI is going to change in a very big way. And there could be questions about our own existence, whether scientists will lose our job. Apparently, no. A scientist will be working like a lab by doing multiple things, accessing various data points, problems. We can scale up our own productivity, our own research, contributing a lot of things to the community, which will all speed up scientific discovery and the way many things would progress in the planet. Some of us could ask, will AI affect cognitive abilities, will take away critical thinking? But again, without that, without critical thinking, without reasoning, without cognitive abilities, we might not be able to challenge these platforms so that we can get the best fruits out of these platforms. It is taking in a very different dimension from smart homes to smart cities to manufacturing hubs, smart transportation systems, smart hospitals. Imagine if you're walking to a hospital and for a regular checkup, taking some blood samples and using some imaging, and you're getting a predictive diagnostics that you're going to get a neurological disorder probably in the coming few months or few years. That is how healthcare is progressing in a very different way. From an Indian context, the government of India is doing a lot of wonderful things. The AI mission invested about $1 billion for sending technologies from urban areas, rural areas, helping various stakeholders in various aspects from manufacturing, healthcare, agri-tech, media, legal tech, So in all spheres, the government of India is doing wonderful things. Startup AI mission is another big initiative by the government of India, training the youth. So India has about 350 million youth population, which is probably almost the size of Russian population. So the government of India is trying to encourage entrepreneurship within these youth talent. The International AI Alliance, chaired by Russia, is a new platform. As of now, we have membership from more than 20 different countries. This is going to take AI in a very new dimension in the coming months and years. And I'm sure that it will again scale up in a very big way, providing massive opportunities for collaboration, networking, and contributing something for the society at large. Thank you very much.
I just want to note that most importantly, we cooperate with our Indian friends and will keep doing so. I know that next February India will host an AI summit and we will gladly participate. And I hope, and I'm sure, that the event of our Indian friends will be having all the perfect arrangements. And as regards the cognitive capability of humans, just before your intervention, I have said that we should not have a siloed intellectual elite that will use and utilize the AI capability for its own sake and for its own benefit. And the bulk of our population will just be basic users pressing the buttons and getting the necessary responses. And we should preclude such situation from taking place. And I have indirectly mentioned also that we are to create our own proprietary domestic platforms on our own knowledge base and building upon our history and traditional values. What am I referring to? When we speak about the cognitive capabilities development, we need the majority of our people to ripen these fruits. And at school, you can press the button and instantly get a response to any question that your teacher might ask, and you needn't think for that, and needn't reason. In foreign languages too, just endeavor a young person of today and try to convince him or her that it is necessary to study foreign languages, to learn foreign languages, and they will tell you, they will ask you why. Why on earth? I will just ask either a Lisa assistant or Mr. Greff using his chatbots, and you'll get instantly things translated and interpreted online. Why study foreign languages then? Why learn them? This is the way they retort. Or you can use voice recognition and simultaneous interpretation models. What's the point? But actually, I think that people should be capable of choosing the proper, correct answer for each of the questions, and we should bring it home to the young ones, because learning a foreign language does not solely mean using that in everyday life or at work. Young people should be aware that if knowledge of a foreign language would plunge you into a brand new world, and you will be able to experience a new life. Because, you know, reading War and Peace in the original and in a translated version will be two different things. And if you read Heine in the original or translated, that would be a big difference. There are very many nuances, and no translation can be 100% precise, because there are all the minor points and intricacies and peculiarities of the author's style that no translation can convey. But if you know a language and if you read that in the original, you get to perceive the soul of the native speakers and the soul and the spirit of a foreign culture. Same refers to playing chess. You can play online, and you can get connected to a network, and computers may help you win. Well, will you be satisfied, or will that be a deception, and this will be a stolen victory? Just now, a girl has told us how Sberbank helps athletes pursue fair arbitration at sports events, because fans know that mistakes are frequent, and this frustrates the fans and also the players. But when you have a deserved win, a fair win, that will give you a buzz. And that has to do with our cultural code. And when we feel this integrity inside ourselves, and when we derive this intellectual, emotional pleasure, these are very fine things, and these are precious ones. And if we are capable to ensure that at school and at university, I mean, this specific approach to education, only then we will be able to utilize the AI capability to the maximum benefit of ours and obtain good results. Thank you.
Ms. Spurden, thank you very much. You very precisely pointed out the focus areas that we should prioritize, how to ensure that kids and people are motivated. How do we ensure we have a high-quality education? How do we explain to the kids that they have to learn instead of just pushing the buttons, without spending any intellectual resources on that? But because without spending any intellectual resource, you won't be able to do anything. You won't be able to develop. How to make sure that AI stimulates you, not kills your cognitive abilities. And according to your initiative, the project was launched and it was led by the scientists, and Ajit Abraham has mentioned that. I'd like to thank our partner on AI Alliance and Kirill Dmitriev from the Russian Investment Fund invested a lot in that and contributed a lot. I'd like to thank you, Kirill, and your organization, because without your participation, that international partnership would not be possible. And I would like to ask our next speaker, I would like to give him the floor, Chen Tufan from China. He is a great expert who has worked in various technology companies for a decade. He has worked in Baidu, one of the largest tech companies, and in Google, one of the largest American companies. He was heading the Department for Strategic Research. And after that, he decided to do writing, to engage in writing. And with Kai-Fu Lee, a great AI expert, he co-authored the book AI 2041. He authored quite a lot of books, and he is one of the experts in the futurology. He's a futurologist. Mr. Chen, the first question: what is your take on the forecasts that Mr. Kurzweil is publishing? He is one of the most famous tech futurologists. He said that you just need to live for another 6-7 years, and you will have the chance not only to live up to 100 and more, but you will be immortal. His latest forecast tells that it will happen somewhere in 2032, between 2030 and 2035. I'd like to ask a question to you, the second question. How do you think the life of a human being will look like in 2041, for example? The year that you described in your very exciting book with Kai-Fu Lee. And what would be the key source of trust between the society and AI? It is known that the technology is growing so quickly that the society cannot adapt at the same pace. What should we do to explain to people and to help them adapt, help them understand what to learn and what skills to train, how to ensure that they have the motivation that the president has talked about, how to make sure that they are in demand on the labor market and, on a global scale, really, how to do that in this very uncertain, fast-changing times.
Thank you, Mr. Gref. Thank you for introducing our book, AI 2041. I want to start with sharing one of my personal story. Like 2 years ago, my mom, 70-year-old, she had a stroke at home when I was away. But luckily, my dad found her and took her to the nearest hospital, and she got everything she needed, all the treatment, and she's fine. But what if she's by herself? What if the hospital was too far away? And what if we can have an AI doctor in our pocket for everyone, so it can subtly monitoring your everyday behavior, like your voice, your expression, the way you're holding the phone, and even your biomarkers. And it can warn you before the stroke or some else's disease before happening. And not only that, but if you need some medication, so it will base on learning all your data, all your history, all your microbe, everything, and 3D printing all the medicine, the pills, and deliver to your doorway within minutes. So this is not only about saving the lives, not only about curing the disease, but also like what Ray Kurzweil mentioned, it will tremendously extend the lifespan and increase the level of well-being. Why it matters so much? China as a country is big, just as Russia, but with 1.4 billion population, so the resources are unevenly distributed. So it's vastly different, distributed in mega cities from the rural areas. But from the other way, fascinatingly, we have almost 100% coverage of smartphones, and we have almost like 80% coverage of internet. So think about in the future, we can deploy AI models hybrid with human expertise, and we can help everyone to improve their everyday life with all this infrastructure and technology. So AI on healthcare, just one thing. Also, like you mentioned before, multi-agent system on your phone could be your children's personal tutor, could be your family finance manager, could be your yoga instructor, could be your therapist. So everything is possible. You don't have to travel far away. You don't have to go to the big city for all these resources. And what's more crucially, just like Mr. President mentioned, we can use the technology to reconnect the younger generation with the history. Just for example, my colleague students from Hong Kong, right now they're using Gen AI and 3D printing to transform all these Chinese mythology figures into fashion toys, and which makes folklore and culture more accessible and relevant. So Russia have as deep the culture and history as China. So definitely we can use the technology to strengthen their love for history and the culture. And also my friend's daughter, 40-year-old girl, she's using AI tutor to read Russian literature, which is quite amazing, right? So AI technology definitely help us to increase the exchange culturally. So go back to my mom. So what's happening to her? So during her recovery, my dad using AI as a tool to create all this funny little animation to cheer her up, so make her laugh. So this is what reminds me in Chinese. AI, artificial intelligence, actually basically the same word as the word love, ai. So this reminds me technology is always about love, about caring, about connecting the people. And I think that's why Chinese government invests so much to support the development of AI technology, from infrastructure to legalization. So creating tremendous, impact across sections from education, healthcare, and manufacturing, and smart city, et cetera, et cetera. And this is, as a science fiction writer, I really want to invite everyone to imagine a bright, optimistic, and constructive future about the technology together. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Если позволите, то
If you allow, first and foremost, on behalf of the whole audience, I would like to wish health to your mother. I hope she recovers as soon as possible. That's number one. Number two,
Герман Оскарович
Mr. Gref just reminded us about the fact that some specialists, well, now we're talking about Chinese specialists who are saying that it's possible to create the conditions. I won't go into details right now, to create conditions where people can live up to 150 years old. And I wanted to say the following in this regard. At some point in time, people lived for 25, 30 years, and that was considered normal. Later, an average age in certain countries around the world started to increase. up to 35 and 40 years, up to 50 years. That was quite normal as well. Now it's about 80 years old, and we intend to get our average age a lot higher. We even set certain goals. The women live longer. But we intend to increase the average lifespan of a person. We can possibly bring it up to 150. However, it will never be enough, just like with money. I think that the main question here is not how long you live. It's about how you live your life. What for? For the sake of what? And as for these questions, the answers lie within our traditional values. There is no irony here. Therefore, I mentioned it both in my remarks, and I'd like to wrap it up with this. Following the developments of our national platforms, they should be based on our traditional values of all nations within the Russian Federation.
Vladimir Vladimirovich, thank you very much for your participation, for your comments. I noted the response of our healthcare minister when you spoke about the 150 years of life expectancy. I think we should merge the healthcare ministry and the Ministry for Digital Development so we achieve the 150 as soon as possible. Well, one thing is obvious. It is that we are moving very quickly into a fundamentally new era in the life of mankind. We discussed it today that Industrial Revolution took 200 years to happen in the world. This Industrial Revolution is going to take only 20 years, and even on the scale of human life, it's a very short stretch of time. So, in our opinion, we should make our contribution. Mr. Putin said that it is important, the questions are important, how to live and why live. People need to be helped to gradually enter this era without the tumult, without the stresses, and not lose anything along the way. Together with our colleagues, we will be trying to deliver on this mission, the why and the how. Ensuring the development of the technologies, the competitiveness of the country, but stay short of cataclysms, of stresses that will affect millions of people that have no direct relation to the development of this technology. It is our responsibility to adapt the technology in a way that will make the lives of these people better, in ways that will make healthcare more accessible right across the country, to make education more accessible for all the people, and make all the digital services more accessible so that people live a bit longer and a bit more happy, just a bit happier. And to this end, we are uniting into this network, creating the International AI Alliance. Mr. Putin, last year you launched this alliance, the signing of the agreement on the alliance, and this year we are expanding the number of countries that are signing their accession declaration. May we proceed with the ceremony? Please, colleagues, go ahead. The ceremony for the accession of new members to the AI Alliance. Dear participants of the AI Journey Conference, let us welcome the new members of the AI Alliance. Very warm welcome to the new representatives of AI alliances, national AI alliances, and AI institutions from 11 countries who are joining the alliance both in presence and by remote. Brazil, Vietnam, India, Congo, Oman, Turkey, Chile, and Egypt, Kenya, Tanzania, South African Republic. Please take the tablets, support the new members, and accept the invitation to the International AI Alliance. Today, on the 19th of November 2025, in the presence of the President of the Russian Federation, Mr. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, the International AI Alliance was joined by new participants. Now the total membership of the alliance stands at 28 organizations. Greetings to the new members of the alliance. Greetings to all the new members, the current members, colleagues. Thank you very much for taking the time to travel here. And thank you for your willingness to cooperate in the development of the most important technology of the century. And I would like to extend my gratitude to all the participants of this conference. A special word of thanks to the Presidential Executive Office, Maxim Stanislavovich Oreshkin, the advisor to the President, who was very active in helping us organize the ministries, Dmitry Nikolaevich Chernyshenko. Yes, colleagues, do take a seat. Dmitry Grigorenko and all our partners who treat this topic very, very seriously, as led by the Prime Minister. I have to say, we are pretty much discussing this topic every month, so we are not left standing on the wayside in the development of this technology. We reported to the President today that Russia is among the 7 nations in the world that possess pretty much the full stack of technologies, most recent, cutting edge, that the most advanced nations possess. That it is your involvement, Mr. Putin, that helps to maintain the necessary level of tech development, the interest on the part of students, researchers, entrepreneurs, of all levels, government officials. Thank you very much indeed, sir. We will do everything in our power to move our country along the way with as great confidence. Thank you.